this is Noreen from Joya Cards, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And welcome to my YouTube channel. Yay! For more of my Stampin' Up! Card videos, please click the subscribe button and the little bell, and you'll be notified when my videos post. Also, I give away the demo card. So if you're a first-time subscriber and you put your email in my comments, if you're the first one, I will email you, get your address, and I'll stick this in the mail so you get to win something. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. This is my Friends Are Like Seashells card, and it's, of course, using this stamp set, and it is from the new catalog, the January to June. And if you need one of these, put your information in the comments, and I'll mail you out one. But the only die cutting we're going to do in this card today is the sentiment frame here, and that's from Ornate Frames. So that's the only die cutting we're going to be using. So we're going to go ahead. This is going to be using a 5.5 by 4 1/4 card base in the Pacific Point. And we're going to do the inside first because the outside is going to take a while. So what we're going to use here is we're going to take a piece of Flirty Flamingo and a piece of Shimmery White. The Flirty Flamingo is going to be cut in a 5 1/4 and by 4, and the Shimmery White is 5 by 3.75. But we're going to take the Shimmery White here first. Now I'm using Shimmery White because whenever you're doing any kind of blending or anything, it looks way better on the Shimmery White. And then I'm also going to take our new blending brushes, which are in the new catalog as well, and a piece of scratch paper and Pacific Point. And we're going to go ahead and tap on that and then also tap off and go in. And I'm just going to make this kind of C bottom here. And that's all we're going to do. Grab another blending brush and use Sahara Sand. So tap off and blend in. I did blend a little over the blue here, so I'm blurring that line a little. So we're going to put that to the side. We're going to take this sentiment here, Love You to the Beach and Back, in Balmy Blue, and go ahead and I'm going to put it up in this corner. I'm going to go ahead and stamp in the shells. We're going to use this one here, and this one here, and the dots, which is the sand. So, but we're going to do the shells first. So go ahead and put shells on. And this is Sahara Sand. So we're going to take this one and put it here. Take this one and put it here. And then we're going to grab the speckles and we're just going to speckle it up. Now you're just going to snail it to that card base, which I said is the Flirty Flamingo. And it's a 5 1/4 by 4. And then snail it again and go ahead and put it in your card base like so. And that is the inside of the card. So now we're going to do the outside. But the next thing I'm going to do is, if you notice here, the shells are actually embossed in white. So I need to do that. So the first thing I need to do is take my shells and go ahead and do that. Now, always, and I like my little tray set up here because, and I know this is for like jewelry and stuff, but because I always have my stuff in it. Like the embossing buddy, I always forget. And that's a super important part because you definitely want to do the embossing buddy before you do anything else. All right, and then I'm going to take out my Versamark and get this all stamped up here. And you need to put figure out where you want to put your shell. Now I've got a little shadow here, so I want it up a little bit. So I'm going to put it right here. Okay, that's the first one. Second one is the shell here. Dab this up. I had the point going down. Actually, nope, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to do the starfish first because he's in the corner over here. And I'm going to put him like right and give him enough room for that shadow because he's got a shadow too right here. And now this one, and I've got his little point going down. Kind of look and see where your starfish is there. Give it a little room, and I'm going to put it right here. That you've got it all first marked, you need to take your white embossing powder and go ahead and cover it. Okay, make sure you got all you didn't miss a spot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and heat set it. Now, when I turn this on, I let it, go for a minute so it gets nice and hot. And then I go and I'm going to emboss this. I'm going to take those same shell blocks and use your chamois and clean them off really quick, because what we're going to do next is we need to make a mask. Okay, so the trick to making a mask is to use junky copy paper. Don't use the Stampin' Up! Paper. That's really good quality paper. It's meant that way so when you fold it, it doesn't crack and do all kinds of weird things. So after you've cleaned off your stamps, go ahead and stamp all 3 of those shells in the junky copy paper. And then you're going to go ahead and take your scissors and just fussy cut it. And what you're going to get are these 3 things here. Just fussy cut them. There's no need to take a die. If you take a die to any of this, what it does is it gives a white border around the piece, and you don't want that. So just go ahead and fussy cut. It's not a big deal. Then go ahead and take some snail. Now this green one, the Tombow, the green kind, is great for masking because it doesn't stick to anything. It's crummy tape. I've had this for years and it's like, ugh, and I just stuck it in a drawer. But I tell you what, it's fantastic for masking because it comes right off without a problem. So you're going to go ahead and take those pieces, snail them up with that green stuff, and then cover your embossed shells. Next part we're going to do is we're going to make this skyline right up here. Now there's different levels to this, and the first thing you want to do is take another piece of scratch paper and snail the back of it with that masking stuff. And we need to figure out where we're going to put the edge of the water here, the ocean here, and the sky. So it's about that far up. So I'm going to put it about right here. We want to give it enough room to get in the purple and blue, and then the yellow and the clouds. So give it enough room and kind of look at where your shell's at. And the shell is in the water a little bit. So, and this is truly like inking or painting almost. So I cannot 100% recreate what I did here at 100% exactly. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and put it about here. Okay, a straight edge. Okay, now I'm going to take my blending brush and I'm going to take balmy blue first. You always take your light color first when you're blending, and go in and only do like half of this. You don't need to put, a mask over it, but just do the top of the sky here. Enough room for the yellow. I'm going to go in with the Highland Heather, and I did just measure this really quick. It's 1 inch. So from the top, then put your mask over there. And then now we're going to go with Highland Heather, and I don't want to put too much on there, so be careful how much Highland Heather you put on, because you don't want to make it too purpley. I think that's about good. Maybe if you want to put a little more blue over the top of it, and that looks about right. Now we're going to make the yellow in the sky, and it's actually a bunch of colors. I've got So Saffron, Daffodil Delight, Bumblebee, and Pumpkin Pie. And then also I made some dark clouds here with Smoky Slate. So how we're going to do this, and if you notice, there's also a sun that peeks through here, and that is in Whisper White. And I'm using the refill and a little dish to do that. But be careful when you use this. This is not a water-based ink. This is, they call it a pigment ink. So this stays wet forever. So long after you are done with this, just let it sit for a while, because I tell you what, it just stays wet. I made this in 2 separate days, and the second day my big glob of white was still wet. So anyway, we're going to be using this as well. So let's go ahead and start with, of course, the lightest color, which is going to be So Saffron. So if you notice, this is dividing my ocean and my sky, my mask here. So you definitely want to keep that where it should be. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the blending pen. These are great because you can really kind of control how much color you're putting on here. And this is just the base of our sky here. And I'm even going to put it over my under my clouds so they peek out. Need a little bit more. And that sun is going to give a little arch. So I'm going to put a little kind of an arch right here. And I'm going to go like that. Okay. Now I've got that down. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Remember to put the lid on your blending pen, because these can dry up really easy. I'm going to grab a sponge. And now these are the sponges that Stampin' Up! Sells. They're round, and I just cut them into 6 little portions of it. And the reason why I want to do the sponge is because I want to make these clouds kind of airy and not really a form to them at all. And this is smoky slate, just in this little bit on the sponge, and just tap it around. And this is going to give that kind of like cloud look to it. You can blend it in a little bit. Okay. And we might touch that up as we go, but that's going to be that. Now I'm going to switch to my Daffodil Delight. Now, since these are all yellows, usually you get all the color off in between when you're using a blending pen, but I'm not going to worry about it because that's okay. Now, this is Daffodil Delight, which is our brightest color. I want to keep the brightest color kind of in the middle, and more the darker and the orangey colors maybe more on the side. So let's go ahead. And I also want to kind of do these not in circles, but just across like this. And another thing about the blending pen, of course, is that you can mute it out. So if you get a little too bright, you can mute it. And I'm kind of leaving a spot here for me to put in the white. So I'm just going on top here. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to Bumblebee, which is a little darker. So I am going to wipe off a little bit of it. And I'm going to start putting that darker color on the end. And over here. Okay. And we're going to adjust as we go. So this isn't the finished product for sure. Okay, now I'm going to grab my pumpkin pie. Careful with pumpkin pie, it's a bit dark. Okay. I really want a dark color here on the bottom, where you can lift this up and see what you're doing, where the ocean is here. If you get a little dark, like I said, these are great because they'll mute out a bit. Like I want to mute that out. I'm going to get it over here. Maybe put a little here. Okay. And then I'm going to, for now, and be super careful because it will come off. So once you put the white on, you got white on it. I'm going to take my dish and like 1 drop of this Whisper White refill, because we're not going to need a lot. And I'm going to take a brush that has like a really, really, really short tip. In fact, I might even go and get some more of these paintbrushes that are really short tip, because the ones that are long like this, they're hard to control. So I'm going to take a little bit of the white and I'm going to put my sun where I want it. And I'm just going to make kind of a long, oblong kind of sun here. And we will touch that up. So that's not a finished product either. So now I'm going to take my blending pen again, and I'm going to start mixing in the colors and kind of smooth out my piece. Now I had a lot of that pumpkin pie on my blending pen, so I'm just sitting here and I'm going to get it off my pen before I start to lighten it up, because I want to put more of the this on here and the So Saffron. Now I'm just going to darken up my cloud a little bit. And I'm going to let this sit for a little while. I might go through and try to make that a little lighter, but that is the sky. Now I'm going to lift up our piece. And don't worry about that. That's on the mask. Okay, and we're going to throw this one away. And let's get a new piece. And I'm going to have you take the long side and rip it straight. So you got your piece of ripped paper, and like I said, try to make it as straight as you can without too many of these like hills here. So I'm just going to kind of alter this. But you don't want your line here to be straight like the ocean is, because that's bad. So you have that piece. Now you want to grab another piece of scrap, and you're going to mask off the top as well. You've masked off the top and you get it right on that line. Make sure you're real exact with that. And then take another piece, and using that green stuff, and you're going to do the bottom as well. And decide how much of that shell you want to peek over the water. And if I measure this, let's see how much I did. This is also another inch. So let's go ahead and take this. And this, I must have stamped this one a little higher, so we're going to do a little bit more here, so like an inch. It's going to look like that. Now this one, the shell is going to be a little bit more in the ocean than this one, and that's because, you know, this is truly something I can't 100% duplicate. So, all right, so we've got these two ends masked. Now we're going to make the ocean. So if you look at the ocean here, I've got some yellow in it because the sun is reflecting into the water a little bit in the sky. So we want to like do this really carefully. Go ahead and start with your balmy blue and give it a little on the top. Also bring out your So Saffron and your Daffodil Delight and figure out where you want to put that reflecting yellow. So I'm going to take my blending pen again, and I'm going to do it here. There's two of them. And right here. Started with the So Saffron because it's light. You know, you want to start with your light. Then go into your Daffodil Delight and do that. Now, when you mask this, and I totally forgot about it, you're going to cover that white, but don't worry about it. Well, we're going to redo the white. I touched it so many times when I was making this card, so I've redone it a few, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, but you do want to kind of avoid it. And if you want to put the white on at the end, you can do that as well. So, okay, so I got that going a little bit. Now I'm going to go into my Pacific Point. So I'm going to take another sponge because I really want to control the width of it. Plus, I think the sponges kind of make a really cool texture to the paper. I'm also going to do it in balmy blue here. Try not to get over that yellow like I just did. And you can always go over it again. Now I'm going to take a brush. like I said, I really want to get some more brushes that the bristles are closer to the end. Just, I'm doing it with a brush because I want to make streaks in it and get a little more intense color on it. So I'm even going to put a little bit here, I think. And you're just going to have to play with your ocean till you get it the right color. And I'm by no means a painter, so I think I did pretty well. So don't be too intimidated. And if you don't have like all the colors, Pacific Point and Balmy Blue are the ones you really want to concentrate on. So Saffron and Daffodil Delight are the other two. But if you have all the other colors, that's great as well. So I'm going to switch back to the sponge on the Balmy Blue. And I'm just going to go back and forth with this and play with it. And you can do that as well. So I'll be right back. I've switched brushes. If you want to switch your brushes just to kind of get kind of a different texture to it. And if you put down too much ink, just go over with the blending pen and it'll take that out. I'm just taking the sponge and I'm doing the whole thing because I can always make that yellow more yellow. I'm just kind of cleaning off my blending pen a little bit, and I'm going to put a little bumblebee in here, I think. I'm going to grab my white, and I'm going to start putting white in. Now, if you want to lift this up and figure out where your sun is, you can make some waves and stuff, but we're going to be making a reflection kind of going off a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and take off the mask. I must tell you that in between, I stopped the video and we were able to go to dinner. We went to a Mexican restaurant. Here we go. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Sweet. And we're still during COVID, and they only had the 25% capacity. And since I already had COVID just a few weeks ago, it's kind of freeing that I know that I've got the antibodies for a little while. So anyway, and long story short, I've had a couple margaritas. So anyway, see how well I do on the rest of this video. All right, so we're going to go ahead, and we took off the two masks. Now we need to do the sand. So I'm going to take one of the pieces here and line it up as much as we can. I'm going to just take the straight edge and put it here and just kind of pay attention to what I'm doing, hopefully, with two margaritas under my belt. Anyway, it's been a while. So, all right, let's go ahead, and we need to do the sand. So let's take our Sahara sand and a sponge, because I love the sponges. And we're going to go ahead and hold down the mask a little bit because they will move. And we're going to sponge the white area with the Sahara sand. My Stampin' Pad's a little dry, so I'm really having to press down. If you've just inked yours, you know, you just have to kind of test how wet your Stampin' Pad is. All right. Now we're going to do the shadow here under the seashells. So go ahead and stamp this up. And this is the big shadow. And we still have all the masks on. Make sure that you didn't take them off. And just stamp right over that mask. And then I'm going to grab the second largest one and stamp it up and do that middle seashell. Now we're going to use the little one on the starfish and just put it like here. All right. Now you need to take those little dot ones And we're going to dot the sand here. Go over your mess. Now we're going to go ahead and take the other mask off. And we're not done, so don't judge it yet. And then I'm going to take these masks off. Okay. Now we're going to get the blending pen and make sure it doesn't have any color on it. So this one has a bunch of yellow, so I'm going to put that to the side and just going to use it for the yellow because we're going to be using that. This one's pretty clear. So we're going to take this, and any place where, like on here, the shadow didn't go all the way up to the shell, I'm going to dip into that color and bring it up. And if you need to get out the Sahara sand like this one, I really kind of missed it for whatever reason. I'm just going to fill it in. Boink. See, fixed. We're going to work on the big shell. And I do have some colored pencils here, and I have my Calypso Coral ink pad out. And I'm going to fill in some yellow spots here. And what's great about the pencils is that we're going to take that blending pen again, and it's going to do some good stuff. So just give it a bunch of little specks of yellow. I'm going to do now the same thing with my Calypso Coral. I might even put in a little flirty flamingo. And take the blending pen again and just blend them out. I'm going to take a sponge and get into my Calypso Coral, tap it off, start in the middle, and blend out. Now, as you get closer to the edge, just pinch your sponge and don't go off the edge. Now I'm going to go over with my blending pen. What's great about the blending pen when I do this is as I go over that white embossing powder, it takes off the ink off the embossing powder. So it kind of makes it brighter as it blends. Now I'm just going to like make some adjustments. Like here's my Calypso Coral pencil, and I'll get some yellow in there, more yellow. Brighten it up a little bit. And take the blending pen and bring all that out. Alrighty, now let's do the little starfish. Now I'm going to grab blending pen and the So Saffron. We can't use the sponges on the starfish, it's just too small. So let's just go in with our blending pen. This is So Saffron. Let's grab some Daffodil Delight and do that as well. Okay, and then grab a sponge and get right in there and just kind of distribute it a little bit. And then grab a cleaned off blending pen. So wipe off all the ink as much as you can. Try to dilute it. Get over the white embossing powder because it'll take the ink off. And there we go. Now grab a different blending tip. Just make sure, like I've already used this on blue, so it's not going to make any difference. And I'm going to do Seaside Spray and Pacific Point. Start with the Seaside Spray, and we're going to work on the other shell. So I'm going to fill it all with Seaside Spray first. So I did the Seaside Spray. Now I'm going to do Pacific Point. Now Pacific Point is really dark, so kind of be careful. So I'm just going to make some lines here. Just get a little different. And then I'm going to take all of it off, or most of it. And then I'm going to blend it in. And go over that white, because if you got any blue over it, it'll take it off. Now we're going to put some definition into the sand. Put our sun back where it should be, because it's been you know, with the mass on top, that white just picks right back up. So go ahead and get into your white, put that sun back, and then put it over the water here. And even go into the sand, because you want to give it a little definition, not too much. Go into the water a little bit, because we'll fix that as well. Take your blending pen and go into that Seaside spray, get a little bit of it, and believe it or not, put a little bit into the sand. Now this part of the sand is going to be a little darker, so put more of it there, but also put a little bit other places. Okay, also go into your Pacific Point after, and any place that you want to give a little bit more blue in the water, put it there. Like, or if you blotted a little bit too much white, like right here, I'm a little blotty, then take it over that. But a bit of blue and a bit of the soft sea foam in areas, even up here at the sun. And then I'm going to take my white again and just put more, like the sun is going this way, so I'm going to go a little bit here. And then get some more on the sand. So we finished up that painting. I did touch up the sun a little bit and put a little bit more white a little bit, and try to use my blending pen and put a little bit of the Seaside spray on the sand there. And now let's do the sentiment. So we're going to take this frame from Ornate Frames. I tell you what, this die set is really good. I use this all the time. So I went ahead and I die cut in Fleur de Flamingo the sentiment, and let's go ahead and stamp that up. Thank you is also in the same stamp set, and we're doing this in Pacific Point. There we go. And then take my dimensionals. When I have dimensionals and I'm only on the outside, I cut the little sides so I can just peel them off like that, so I don't throw anything away, of course. And let's go ahead and put it where we want it, up here. And then grab the card base. And the thing about this card is that white will be wet for a while. You want to let that cure for at least a day. And go ahead and take your snail on the card base. Don't flip that over and ruin your white. So we're going to take the card base here and snail it up obnoxiously well. And that's the card. It's pretty close. I mean, that's pretty darn good for doing something like this, because you can't 100% match it. But this is great. So this was kind of a funsy card, a little more advanced than most, but that's okay. So if you are a first-time subscriber and you put your email in the comments, you might get this card for free. I'll stick it in the mail. I'll get your address, and there you go. So that'll do it for me. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.